Hey, welcome to PUFFCAST. My guest is JJ Jegathesan. He's an independent film and voice actor featuring in two very deep, monologue-driven short films, The Soul Catcher and The Emerald Wasp. Were both shot on iPhones, which segues us into a rant about relevant tech these days. The film festival submission process is raised again, and JJ discloses his calculated winning formula. JJ's a smart man, and he delivers a captivating performance with a voice that's smooth like a highway. And do yourself a favour and Google an Emerald Wasp. Enjoy the conversation and support the channel. Thanks for listening. Catch you on the next one. Ciao for now. How are you, Jay?
Very good, Ivan. Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming, man. Let's start with some background about yourself.
I used to do a lot of stage acting, when I was younger, and when I was in university and stuff like that. So I was with the University of Western Australia, UDS, so when I left university and got into the real world, I thought that whole world was gone to me, and it was like that for about 20 years or so, until my son started making film out of the blue.
Oh.
And so he's an animator.
Oh, cool.
And he made a film called Journey when he was 16, which won the Port Shorts Film Festival, beating the previous year's Academy Award winner.
Wow.
For Best Animated Short Film.
Cool.
And that was with Stephen Curry in Queensland at Port Shorts making the announcement. And so that kind of told me that, hey, my son, who I was encouraging to go into commerce and move away from the arts, hey, maybe he has got talent in this area, and we started fully supporting him there.
How old is your son?
He's 25 now, but
Okay.
he was 16 at the
Right.
time, yeah. And so his second film was called Irony, and it was nominated for an ACTA award the following year. So all of this, because he was 16, 17 at the time, so he didn't really have time or the knowledge to take his film out to the circuit, to industry, to get screen time in WA or Australia, around the world. And so that's what I did. So I stepped in, and so I got to learn the short film circuit. I got to start getting to know people in the industry in WA and around Australia. And then because I narrated Irony, and then I narrated his next film as well, called The Quiet, which was Academy Award longlisted for Best Animated Short Film. This kind of got me out there in terms of being producers of his film, and also the narrator of the film, and started meeting people who are directing films, and they said, hey, can you narrate my film, and then can you perhaps, would you like to act? And so
Yeah, right. So just sort of snowballed
yeah,
from there.
so that's how I started acting again.
Oh, cool. So do you have film education qualifications, or?
Well, no, I'd say zero.
That's all right.
In terms of film education and qualification, because even when I was with the Dramatic Society, I was acting with people like Toby Schmitz, who's one of the actors in Boy Who Swallowed the Universe, and then he's also done a couple of major Aussie features, and a number of my other co actors are names in the Australian film industry. They were all as well in like in screen art, so drama type things, and I was doing commerce.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right.
and so so like my only education was whatever I had been doing, and basically self-taught. And I used to act. I used to do something called oral interpretation of literature, where I used to compete in these international competitions, but when I was between the ages of like 15 and 18 and stuff like that, and did well there. And those led to me performing at parties and invited events where it would be a mixture of comedy and stuff like that. And so I did enjoy doing all that. And again, like I left all of it when I finished uni and entered the real world.
Describe some of your cinematic influences.
Love watching monologues, like the ones that were delivered in A Few Good Men, a couple by not Robert De Niro, but Al Pacino. Scent of a Woman, so like, and Robin Williams. So yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say like I'm influenced by them in an acting sense, but like the one that I always say, I've always said I wanted to be is I wanted to be James Earl Jones, and I wanted to be the next voice of Mufasa, so like that's what I wanted to be.
Do you do any voice acting as well? Because you have a very distinctive radio kind of ad voice.
Yeah, I mean, like I do, so like voiceovers is what got me back into acting. So like it's through voiceovers, so being the voice in Irony, being the voice in The Quiet, and also in my son's next film, which is called Trading Cards, which will be released next year. And like I do have an agent in Perth, Now Actors, and I do get a few voice gigs now and then. There's a very nice one which still runs in Fremantle, where there was this tour of Fremantle, and it was imagining that the year was 22, and then people were coming back in time and looking at Fremantle from the perspective of someone 200 years from the future. Wow. And then so I was kind of describing it in this otherworldly voice, and so cool. And so, I mean, like those types of things are the things I love most to do.
Well, let's read out the synopsis of Soulcatcher. A deeply reflective, charming man, 3 dynamic women, a mystery that cuts to the heart of self-knowledge and transformation. Much has been said of the way to a man's heart, but what of the path to his soul? Meet Brock Aloysius Chopra. Discover the women who changed his life, the healer, the rebel, the mentor. Join Brocky's journey on a path you may find familiar, relatable, echoing your memories, yet utterly unknown. Do you want to delve into that?
Well, this was written by an amazing Australian writer who lives in China at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
He's an ex-cop from Australia.
Oh.
And then, who used to write, and then his writing completely overtook everything, so quit being a cop. He'd interviewed serial killers and worse, and and he'd met the worst of humanity. I mean, he was writing about like people of that ilk, he's moved to China. He married this amazing woman who's created some of the most incredible animated characters in China that are all over China, and the both of them have kind of taken over the world, so to speak, from there. I met him in Singapore because of my son. So, as I was saying, one of my son's films, I think it was Irony at the time, was selected to play in Singapore for a film festival over there. And so I went with him and I attended this writer's kind of workshop, with Simon. And, we became friends through that. And he watched me perform a piece by a writer called T.N. Murari, who wrote a book called Taj, which was about the Mughal Empire in India. And I said, Mughal Empire in India is the period in history and the place in history that I am fascinated with the most. And there was a particular scene where Emperor Jahangir was sentencing his son Khusrav to be blinded. And it was after his son had tried to rebel against his father and usurp the throne. And so that was one of the pieces I'd done years ago for an international solo acting competition when I was 17. And the World Monologue Games came up in Australia when COVID hit. Actors, filmmakers and everything were completely affected, couldn't do anything. So a guy by the name of Pete Malachi over east in Sydney, he founded the World Monologue Games, and it's still going right now. So yesterday, in fact, was the final of the World Monologue Games for the year 2024. And Ron Arthurs, who's a prominent Perth actor, was part of the main final. I was part of the sprint final last week, which is monologues under 60 seconds.
Wow.
But anyway, that was the first World Monologue Games. And so the rules of the monologue games are that you can perform any monologue at all, but you either need to have written it yourself, or you need to have the permission of the author, or it needs to be out of copyright. So Shakespeare stuff, and is okay. So I had to try and track down T.N. Murari, whose book I had read, 20 years back, and somehow I managed to find him. I didn't know he was alive, and he was thrilled that I was doing it, and I showed him. I showed him what I would do with it, and he was fully supportive. So I submitted that to the World Monologue Games. Simon Higgins saw this piece and said, "Hey, look, JJ, let me write a piece for you." And so he wrote this piece, Soul Catcher, for me based on watching me perform that other piece where I was playing the role of doing a monologue as Emperor Jahangir sentencing my son to be blinded. And we discussed what it was, and it in the end it shows a character which transforms in front of your eyes from someone whom your perception in your first 30 seconds to 1 minute of who you're listening to and who you're watching changes by the end of the 7, 8, 9 minutes that you're sitting there watching this character.
Yeah, I think it was captured brilliantly, the gradual slow gradual process until the end result. And we're not giving anything away, but very well done. And you are quite captivating to listen to. Let's talk about the methodology. Here it says that it was all shot on an iPhone in one take.
That's right. Well, we'd done two. Yeah, we did two versions of it. One with an iPhone, one with a camera. And so the reason why we were doing it is because there's the WMA Film Festival, and so they have a little section where they are trying to encourage new filmmakers who don't necessarily have all the fantastic whiz-bang cameras and don't have all that behind them, and so they're looking for films shot with a phone. and that's the reason why we went that path.
Well, they're amazing devices. You can print out billboards.
That's right.
So it holds the question of their relevance in the industry, but you can't tell. It's just
Yeah, I mean, like I'm quite I was quite amazed by what about by the end result. How things came about, and as grateful to the people who were there and around me and able to have who had the skills to be able to use the camera, use the lights in the way that they could, and to help me pretend to be a director, because like it's basically I'm directing myself, and because there's there's two actors in the scene, and you do hear the actress voice, and you also see her,
but you're the focus.
That's right. I mean, like it's essentially a monologue. So and in fact, so like that's how it originated. So it originated with the World Monologue Games, and so following the games, there was an opportunity with some of the people involved, who they needed to also work on a university project, where it was to create a film as part of their final year project, and so that worked out well to take that monologue and make it into a short film.
You familiar with the work of William Burroughs? No? I think you would read William Burroughs very well.
All right.
I'd have to. Yeah, I'll send you some links or something. But
okay. What did he write?
He wrote a number of books. He was the founder of the Beatnik movement, which were a bunch of intellectual poets and writers from the sort of 50s.
All right.
Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg.
Okay, so Vincent Price would be great at reading those, I think.
Vincent Price, he was around at the time, but his works they're very surreal. Naked Lunch is completely surreal. But anyway, let's chat about your other film, The Emerald Wasp.
So The Emerald Wasp is something that quite amazing. It's written, directed, edited, and shot as well. Written, directed by Peter Renzulo, and Peter. Well, it shot. The DOP for Emerald Wasp was my son, Radea.
Oh, okay.
That's right. And it was on his phone. That one. But Peter is legally blind, and he's had 3% cone vision since he was 12 or something like that.
I discovered that recently when I was liaising with him.
And he's. It's incredible what he's able to do and what he's able to achieve, so he'd written a longer series feature type story called the Jewel Wasp, and so there's a scene I did which was basically the audition piece for the Jewel Wasp, which had a lot of the text in the Emerald Wasp, but the end result is completely different. The character that is speaking those lines in the Jewel Wasp has a very different end goal, so to speak, from the character that's speaking these words in the Emerald Wasp. After shooting that scene with him, and that the Jewel Wasp is still being shot because the lead actress had some amazing real life happenings which had to cause her to take a 1-year pause from filming. So like a lot of the Jewel Wasp is still yet to be shot.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I mean, but it was for good, happy things happening with her.
Sure.
But in looking at the script for that scene we shot, I thought that it would work well. Again, I mean, like for the WA Made Film Festival, I told, hey Peter, look, I think I can adapt this piece into something that it isn't for the Jewel Wasp, so it's not going to kind of
interfere
in terms of being the same, showing the same end result. No, although although a lot of the dialogue is similar.
So you're producing like a spin-off.
That's right. It's a little spin-off, and the character that I'm speaking to is very different as well. And there's a lot more interaction between the two characters in the Jewel Wasp than in the Emerald Wasp, where you do hear the other character speaking, but it's quite pulled back and quite minimalist in terms of the responses of the other character in the Emerald Wasp. So he kind of trusted me to adapt his work slightly to make it into a self-encapsulated short film, with its own start and end, so we did that, and we, everything was, shot and filmed in a period of 2 hours, which is kind of, which is kind of what I love, because I hate kind of putting people off in terms of imposing on their time and things like that. So with Soulcatcher and with the Emerald Wasp, both those films, we were done. I think Soulcatcher 3 hours, Emerald Wasp was 2 hours, and we got both on the first, second, or third take or something like that. And it's I mean, it was a joy. It's a joy to work on something where you set out to kind of do it while imposing for the least amount of time on the people who are doing light, sound, your other fellow actors, other people involved, and managed to pull off something which is capable of being seen around the world. Both films have been seen in at least 5 or 6 continents around the world. They collectively, Soulcatcher and Emerald Wasp, have about 60 or 70 official selections, and have been played multiple times in WA and in Australia as well. So
Luca and I were talking about film submissions and how he submitted his film to so many film festivals, and now his poster is just full of stamps.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is that that might have been what I was right at the start. Now I told him, say, look at all these, you've got all these laurels and stuff like that. Put it all in your film. This was 2016 with Journey, and eventually, like, now I never put any laurels on the posters of my films, because I see abuse with it. And when I look at a film with like 25 laurels, I zoom in to have a look at what these laurels are. And people have things like Liftoff Film Festival, which I never even enter, because I know they will select your film and they'll try to sell you stuff. So, like, the thing is that you need to know the film festivals around the world to be able to kind of work confidently with it. And I've worked long enough with the festivals to know which ones are good. So like none of my films lose money on the circuit, so like I focus on ensuring that, so okay, for instance, I won't say which films they are, but so I've spent, say, on a film, if I spend $3,000 on submissions, it means that the film has won $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 in terms of prize money for it. So I'd only keep putting films in where I can see they are winning cash prizes back, and I know which festivals to enter. And the only time I would put a laurel on a poster is if it's an Academy qualifying festival. So Academy festivals, I would. And recent films,
credibility.
Recent films. So like Bird Drone, which is still playing now. Bird Drone has 14 Academy Award qualifying festivals. The Quiet had 11. It's those festivals that I do, or local film festivals, we do as well. So say if it's say your festival, we're supporting festivals within Perth where we know the people.
Sure.
Port Shorts Film Festival, Over East Peninsula Film Festival, in Mornington Peninsula. So like those we would, but for people who are new, you're submitting. Just pay attention to festivals which provide a return beyond knowing that it was selected at a festival.
Yeah, the thing is that you're absolutely right in everything you say, but I mean, where does it end? Like, how many film festivals do we, they can't all be good. So, but also like, you have to spend so much, but as you're saying, you have to do your research now into what festivals are going to be credible enough for you to be associated with, instead of just putting stamps all over your poster, because they're just entry tickets now, I suppose.
It's actually very hard for someone for a director now, even for directors and producers who are coming up now. It's extremely hard to do because most producers, their focus is other things to do with the film rather than the film festival run. Like they've got so many other things on their mind, and then once they finish the film, they're thinking of everything to do with their next film already. I do find that West Australian film, West Australian short film is as good, if not far better, than films produced in many other places around Australia. So I've personally been to lots of festivals in Queensland, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, and stuff like that because of the opportunities that my film, or me and my son's films have given us.
Sure. And
I found that films which were selected to major festivals, the clusters of films there are, on par, or as a group, not as good as just a West Australian film festival, and people are giving up too quickly on their films here and not actually pushing their film. That's what I found.
Okay.
So I find people 2-3 months after they lose heart because the best of the best films on Film Freeway or Fest Home, the best films get selected for 3 out of 10 for festivals that you submit to. So you've got a 30% strike rate, and just like in baseball, you're batting 300. That is absolutely amazing, but it's very disheartening to see rejection after rejection after rejection for people coming in.
Yeah.
And knowing, and like, so they give up after 3 months, 4 months when there's so many rejections, and
well, the competition's so high.
Yeah, but like our films, have a shelf life of 2 years on the circuit. So my film Pacing the Pool was a documentary about Richard Pace, who I saw him this morning at BD Park Pool. He's had 100 operations in his life, and that film was selected by the World Health Organization as their health film, and featured there. It played at Revelation Film Festival. It was created for Revelation in 2021. It's still playing now. So like it's playing in...
longevity is interesting. The work of Corey Maccabee. He made a film called The American Astronaut.
All right.
And we screened it at Revelation years ago when I worked for them. And he basically created the film that all independent film festivals want to screen.
All right.
And it did the circuit for years before it went to DVD. And he travelled the world, you know.
That's right.
And I met him. He came over, he signed my poster and everything. And he's just an inspiration. And he's the actor, director, producer, promoter, marketeer, writer. He's a one-man band. He created this film. It's a black and white Western science fiction comedy musical.
Wow.
Yeah. And he has all his stamps, but this is back in the day where they're all credible. You know, and I always that film and that filmmaker is always an inspiration. But he worked out the formula of like he just wouldn't get rejected because it's such a perfect film for the independent scene. You know,
I see.
And it becomes currency.
That's right. Yeah,
you know, you barter with it.
I mean, like one thing. So like, there's a lot of negative focus on like, you know, what you mentioned about that laurels, and it's only the negative that seems to come out and blow up. And I always and there was something about it recently in the Perth, you know, film groups, you know, about one or two festivals which were bad eggs, and you know, which were kind of taking my money from people and not giving an end result. But I always worry about things like this because they don't know how many amazing small festivals there are around the world. Well, and even in WA, even in Australia.
Yeah,
so,
but this is the problem with saturation.
Yeah, you have to know it. And I was kind of, I actually didn't get to the point I was trying to make before. Sorry. It's like, because I lost track as well on my own. Because as I was saying, producers and directors have no time basically to actually follow and do the work that, you know, like dealing with the film festivals is a full-time job in itself. Producers go on to the next thing, and I was in a position where I was kind of giving up all my time after work for my son, because like the thing is that I wanted him to succeed, you know, and so I would give up any time at all to to kind of find avenues for his films to get seen. And that kind of exposed me to all these film festivals. I made my mistakes early, and then I know which ones to avoid, which ones to look for. So if you see, for instance, this is easy tells, right? If you're looking at a film festival which has 50 awards, just avoid it, you know? 50 awards, each one has, each section has its entry fee and stuff like that. Avoid it, all right? So proper film festivals, you'll have maybe five or six awards. Many of them will advertise their actual prize. And if you don't see any prize advertised, then avoid as well if they've got fees.
Right.
If they're free, enter them.
Enter
all right?
them for free.
If they're free, enter them. You know, so like these are just some of the tales. And then like after a while, you get to know the film festival. You get to know, because it's hard to break through. Festivals which are free, they receive 3,000 films, right? And so how do they, volunteers and stuff like that, go through all these films? And sometimes it's luck of the draw, and sometimes you get a viewer who sees the first 30 seconds, they don't like it, they go next. And so
it comes down to appeal then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When I used to preview films for Rev years ago, and this is back in the day with tapes and DVDs, and I just have stacks and stacks. But you do like, you know what you want to screen, like, and you just get this sort of feel for the film, and if you watch it all the way through, it's in, you know.
That's right.
But it depends on the festival, so if it's an independent film festival, it's quite broad. But someone made a documentary film about this whole thing years ago. I forget what it's called, but it's a really good insight. And it does talk about these people who, and I related to it because that was my job. And this guy goes, people think we look we watch all the films all the way through. It's like,
That's right. Yeah.
how much time do you have? You know, you know if it's going to be a yes or no or a maybe, you know.
Yeah.
But now with streaming,
That's right.
you're not even holding anything. Nothing's tactile, you know. So in a way, digitizing this sector has got its advantages for efficiency, but it is completely and utterly saturated. But I like your strategy. You've looked into this and you've calculated it, but because of the nature of it, I think that's what it requires, you know.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time actually to get to know them. And like once some festivals, if they know you, then like if they see you submit a film, they'll give your film a shot, you know. They'll actually watch it all the way. Sometimes, yeah. So you know, like some festivals will know, hey, look, if this person submits, it's a quality film, so like let's pay some attention to it, and that really helps as well. Yeah. But I can tell you which are the best film festivals to target in Australia. You know, Port George will have an audience of 1,000 under the stars. You know, and at Port Douglas, you know, you're right by the water. You see the sun's setting. Peninsula Film Fest will get 3,000 people in the audience on the night of on the main Peninsula night. So like, you know, those two, you know, like Affin Film Fest, which was actually last night. You know, like that's at the Glittering Awards ceremony in Queensland, and we had 3 nominations, you know, for that festival. So I mean, like there are a lot of really good festivals which are not the Academy ones. But you know, like these festivals are festivals which you know, are focal points for the entire town. You know, every year that they play, and I highly recommend those.
I want to read out the synopsis for the Emerald Wasp. The retelling of the tale of the Emerald Wasp is the foundation stone to the relationship between Khan and Isabella. How does this story impact on the lives of the teller and the many who undoubtedly hear this often told tale of the sheer power of nature? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, like, how much can we reveal here? I mean, so can we give spoilers here, or
not really?
All right, yeah. so, well, I mean, like this didn't start out as a monologue, you know. So like it started out, you know, it started out in the Jewel Wasp, as I said, and as a dialogue between two people, and as where, you know, like so with someone welcoming someone else to their company, but it transforms completely in the Jewel Wasp, in the Emerald Wasp, and that's no longer what's happening, you know. So the story that's being told by Khan here lends itself to a very different ending than in the Jewel Wasp, and the synopsis basically talks about that. I mean, there's a detailed story about what the Emerald Wasp does, you know, and the Emerald Wasp is a creature that exists, and you know, you can search that on Google and have a look at it and see what it looks like. It's a pretty fascinating looking creature, and you know, the entire film is basically Khan telling Penelope, you know, why this creature is so incredible. And you know, it's a shimmering, eye-catching green creature. Yeah,
it's amazing.
That's right. Yeah. So and you know, once you've seen the film, you will know why many people hear this story, because it's a precursor to something else that happens, which will remain unseen, but only imagined.
And that was all shot on iPhone as well.
That's right. So I mean, like the two versions again. There's one version called Isabella, which was shot on camera, and then the Emerald Wasp, which was shot on iPhone. I mean, like Peter films in a fascinating way. I'm
looking forward to meeting him because he's his work is remarkable.
He filmed with 3 cameras at the same time, so we don't need to do 3 takes of the same thing to get like your close-in shot, your wide shot, and everything. So he does all of it at the same time, and positions his cameras in such a way that you don't see them, but he's doing all these takes at the same time.
Yeah, look, his music videos are amazing. The ones he sent in, two of the ones he sent in was, and he only disclosed afterwards that he's mostly blind. Amazing work, yeah. That's a wrap, I think, and thanks for coming in, man, and chatting. I think these films of yours, the word I'd use is captivating, and I think that was the intention behind them. But they try not to give a spoiler, but they both involved you strapped.
Well, I mean, like Well, they involved that, but not me in both cases.
Yeah, but good reveal at the end, I think.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
No worries. Oh, I mean, like I must give a shout out to
Sure.
Amy Phoenix as well, who appears who appears in Peter Anzulo's music videos, because the next thing I'm working with Peter on features a song from Amy, so I'll be meeting her for the first time at your event.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank you, Ivan. Yeah.